Good morning, residents of our Commonwealth and everyone in attendance. I am Krista Caceres, Chairwoman of the Citizens Law Enforcement Advisory Review Commission, and want to welcome you to our fourth quarterly meeting on March 24th, 2026 at 10 a.m. This meeting is called to order. We will now have our roll call of our commissioners and ascertainment of quorum by Secretary and fellow Commissioner Amy Zack. Good morning, Amy. We're going to do the vote. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Begin the roll call. Krista Caceres,
Present.
David Sonnenschein,
Present.
David. Jeffrey Wilson,
Present.
Benjamin Lerner,
Present.
Francis Chardo.
Present.
I'm present. Chuck Bailey.
Present.
Kevin Mahoney.
Present.
Give everyone in attendance, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Being that we have a quorum, we can proceed with official business. I would like to acknowledge and thank State Inspector General Michelle A. Henry, OSIG Chief of Staff Michelle Kelly Walsh, Ms. Jamie Hicks, Executive Director of the Clear Commission, Ms. Corey Thurl, Assistant General Counsel for OSIG, and Mr. Jonathan Hendrickson, Deputy State Inspector General of External Affairs, for their leadership and guidance. Next, I would like to acknowledge and thank the ex officio members who are with us today for their partnership and for their service to the Commonwealth. Representing the Office of the Governor, Deputy Chief of Staff Michael Pike. Good morning. Representing the General Counsel Jennifer Selber. General Counsel designees, Executive Deputy General Counsel Kelly Sekula and Deputy General Counsel Ann Gingrich Cornick. Representing the Pennsylvania State Police, Acting Commissioner Colonel George Bivens. Pennsylvania State Police designees, Major Jonathan Rush and Major Peter Gutowski. Before I continue, I would like to offer sincere condolences on behalf of the Clear Commission for the loss of Corporal Timothy O'Connor. My apologies. Representing the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Secretary Cindy Adams Dunn. DCNR designee, Deputy Secretary John Norbeck. Representing the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, Executive Director Kirsten Kenyon. Representing the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, Secretary Dr. Laurel Harry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Pennsylvania Department of Corrections Deputy Secretary Deborah Carpenter as the designee. And representing the Capitol Police, Chief Joseph M. Jacob. We do have one matter of business that requires a majority vote, and that is to adopt the minutes from our December 2nd, 2025 meeting. The minutes were distributed to everyone prior to this meeting for a review. May I have a motion to accept the minutes for the December 2nd meeting?
So moved.
I will take that motion from Commissioner Jeffrey and the second from Commissioner Amy. Any questions? Oh, I apologize. May I have a second? I'm a little sleepy this morning. May I have a second? Oh, I apologize. I gotta wake up. Any questions or discussion before the vote? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? If so, please state your name for the record. With unanimous vote, the motion carries. Next, I'm pleased to announce that the Clear Commission completed their third round of case reviews for our 3 designated committees as outlined in our executive order. As mentioned in the past, the Governor's Executive Order 2023-21 provides for the process by which the Clear Commission will follow under Section 4, Paragraph 1, Sections A through C. The Commission is authorized to review covered agencies' completed internal investigative findings related to allegations of allegations of use of force and bias-based policing. We review events, policies, practices, and procedures, and make recommendations to correct any perceived policy or training deficiency when and where appropriate for covered agencies following the completion of a case review. First up, the Bias-Based Committee is charged with reviewing all investigations related to allegations of racial or ethnic discrimination and other bias-based policing or external complaints of bias or discrimination during interactions with covered agencies' law enforcement efforts. Committee members, myself, Commissioner Caceres, Commissioner Sonnenschein, and Commissioner Bailey. We will now hear the committee's case review, which will be delivered by Chair Kevin Mahoney.
Morning, everyone. I'm going to give a summary of this complaint. In April and June of 2022, a trucking company owner filed two separate bias-based complaints with the Pennsylvania State Police Internal Affairs Division, alleging racial profiling and retaliatory enforcement against African-American drivers employed by the company. The complainant was not present during any of the traffic stops in question, and each complaint was investigated independently. The first complaint, dated April 23rd, 2022, involved a PSP sergeant conducting commercial vehicle inspections. The investigation found that a single driver was stopped twice, February and April 2022, while operating different international box trucks. Both stops were part of a lawful, systematic commercial vehicle safety inspection, which do not require reasonable suspicion or probable cause when conducted under established inspection program. During both encounters, the sergeant conducted level 1 inspections, identified multiple violations, and issued only written warnings. The driver reported no racial comments and described the first stop as random, but believed the second may have been racially motivated. The sergeant stated that the stops were conducted professionally and without consideration of race. The initial investigation concluded that stops were lawful, consistent with PSP policy, and free from bias or disparate treatment. The allegation was determined to be unfounded, with no violations of PSP harassment or bias-based profiling policies. The second complaint, dated June 28th, 2022, alleged that PSP personnel conducted retaliatory enforcement following the initial April complaint. The investigation identified two separate traffic stops. On June 12, 2022, a trooper stopped a company vehicle for speeding and conducted a level 2 inspection, resulting in 1 citation and 3 warnings. On June 13, 2022, a second trooper stopped a different company vehicle for bypassing an active weigh station and conducted a level 2 inspection, resulting in 2 citations and 2 warnings. Both drivers stated no racial remarks were made, and they did not believe the stops were racially motivated. Both troopers reported they were unaware of the company or prior complaints and initiated enforcement solely based on observed violations. The IAD investigation determined that both stops were lawful, justified, and compliant with PSP policy with no evidence of retaliation or bias. Both investigations underwent multiple levels of review, including PSP command staff and oversight offices. In all instances, the allegations were classified as unfounded or not sustained, and no violations of PSP policies regarding harassment or bias-based profiling were identified. The committee's conclusion is that we identified no evidence supporting the need for corrective action. Following a comprehensive review of the facts and circumstances surrounding the IAD's administrative investigation, it was determined that all actions were in compliance with established policies, procedures, and professional standards. That concludes my summary.
Thank you, Chair Mahoney. We will now open the floor for any comments from commissioners related to this report. Hearing none, we will move to public comments if there are any. If there's anyone virtually who would like to make any comments, please raise your hand and you'll be acknowledged. Hearing and seeing none, we will go ahead and move to a vote on acceptance of the Bias-Based Committee's preliminary case review. May I have a motion to accept that preliminary report?
So moved.
I'll take the motion from Commissioner Lerner and the second from Vice Chair Sonnenschein. Any further comments or discussion pertaining to the report? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Vice Chair. The report was unanimously accepted. Moving on, the Use of Force Committee is charged with reviewing a representative random sampling of lower level uses of force resulting in injury or death, including arrest and control techniques, baton strikes, and conducted energy weapon deployments. The committee members of Use of Force are Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Chardo, and Commissioner Mahoney. We will now hear the committee's case review delivered by Committee Chair and Commission Vice Chair, David Sonnenschein.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On Saturday, August 20th, obviously in the summertime, 2:20 in the afternoon, A ranger, DCNR ranger, was in full uniform, displaying a badge, was directing vehicle traffic at the front gate of a state park. When doing so, the ranger was called to assist with an ongoing issue with an individual. The individual, we'll call the subject, was upset that the state park gate had been closed due to the park reaching its maximum visitor capacity for the day. Subject was informed by park staff he would not be allowed to enter the park. For that reason, refused to leave, continued to argue with Ranger 1 as well as Ranger 2, the park manager, and in fact, Ranger 3. After failing to vacate the area of the park's gate, Ranger 1 advised the subject he was under arrest. The subject refused to comply and clenched fists. Ranger 1 used verbal commands to warn the subject to stop resisting or to be sprayed with OC spray. Ranger 1 held the OC spray in Ranger 1's hand, gave another command for the subject to comply. The subject did not. Individual continued to resist in the interests of Ranger safety and due to the argumentative nature of the subject. And at this point, Ranger 1 deployed the spray. Subject moved to avoid the spray. It is unclear if the spray deployment made contact with the subject or not. Ranger 1 was under the impression that it did, or it had. Subject repeatedly tried to flee from custody during this time and ran from the scene. Ranger 1 directed the other ranger to assist in helping keep the subject out of harm's way, obviously along a road, and to stop or divert traffic as the subject ran to and then ran alongside the road. Rangers 1 and 4 followed the subject in a marked vehicle. Eventually, they caught up with the subject and exited their vehicle. Ranger 1 once again gave commands for the subject to stop. However, the subject did not, ran towards Ranger 1 and 4. Ranger 1 then deployed the OC spray a second time. The subject grabbed his own face. Ranger 1 instructed the subject to get down, but he still did not comply. Ranger 1 was able to get a hold of the arm of the subject, but the subject continued to resist. Ranger 1 did eventually manage to place cuffs on both hands of the subject and secured him. An ambulance was immediately requested by DCNR to decontaminate and evaluate the subject. Medics arrived on the scene and cleared the subject as okay. The subject was subsequently transported to the local PSP barracks for fingerprinting and processing, and then released from custody. Following the review approval of the county district attorney, the subject was charged with resisting arrest in violation of the Pennsylvania Crimes Code. The DCNR review panel post-incident review of the facts and circumstances. In their view, following this, the opinion of DCNR review panel that Ranger 1 responded to the situation in a manner in keeping with Ranger's authority to carry OC spray and use of force policies. In addition, Ranger 1 handled the situation as any other reasonable ranger would have in the same situation, exercised good judgment, and to the fullest extent possible did not use unnecessary or excessive force. The review went through the usual channels at DCNR, and finally, on August 30th, 2022, clearly timely, the Director of State Parks approved the finding. After our review, the committee's review, we found that all of the requirements of the Clear Commission were met. And we found no evidence warranting recommendations for corrective action. That is the sum and substance of our report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We will now open the floor for any commissioners' comments pertaining to the Use of Force Committee report.
Let me just add, if I could,
Hearing
Advocate, there was no civilian complaint here. This review was instituted by DCNR itself.
Perfect, thank you. With no commissioners' comments, we'll move to public comments. If there are any, indicate yourself by raising your hand and we will grant you permission. Seeing no public comments waiting, we will move to a commissioner's vote on acceptance of the preliminary case review. I would like to have a motion to accept the preliminary report for the Use of Force Committee.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Zapp. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bailey. We have a second from Commissioner Bailey. Any further discussion on this report? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This report was accepted unanimously. The final report for today is the Critical Incident Committee, which is charged with reviewing all investigations of police-involved shootings resulting in injury or death of civilians by covered agencies. The Critical Incident Committee members are Commissioner Lerner, Commissioner Zapp, Commissioner Bailey, Commissioner Chardo. And as chair of this committee, I will deliver the case review. And as always, I will give more information because anytime a review involves the death of a civilian, we do like to give all the pertinent information so that you have a comprehensive look at what occurred. In the mid-morning hours of November 5th, 2022, a county 911 center received a telephone call from a woman who reported that she was driving near the intersection of two state routes when an unknown male pointed a rifle at her vehicle and fired gunshots at her and her baby. The call was then transferred to the PSP. She described the subject as an older male with a gray beard who was wearing a gray shirt and dark pants and who was operating a blue side-by-side utility vehicle. Troopers 1, 2, and 3 were in full uniform and operating marked patrol vehicles. Trooper 4 was in full uniform operating an unmarked patrol vehicle. All 4 troopers were dispatched from the station to respond. The police communications officer advised responding troopers that the county 911 center received a call from a second individual who reported a known male shot her friend in the back, and CPR was in progress. The location of this other shooting was up the street, a short distance from the location of the shooting originally reported by the first complaint. Troopers 1, 2, and 3 arrived at the area of the intersection where complainant 1 was fired upon. The PCO radioed that the subject was at a nearby address and was actively shooting at the residence. Troopers observed a male, later identified to be the subject, in the middle of the roadway. The subject was wearing a tactical vest and holding a rifle. Trooper number 3 exited his vehicle with his department-authorized personally owned rifle and ordered the subject to put his hands up. The subject failed to comply with any of the trooper's verbal commands. Members took cover behind their vehicles and observed the subject run into the wood line along the roadway where the troopers lost sight of him. Troopers observed a blue UTV matching the description provided by complainant 1, parked on the south side of the roadway. Moments later, a sport utility vehicle, which was traveling southeast, stopped next to the UTV. The subject then fired at that SUV. The SUV continued to travel southeast toward the troopers. As the SUV proceeded to travel past the troopers noticed that the vehicle sustained a flat tire, which was caused by the subject's gunfire. Additional verbal commands were given by troopers to the subject, including come out with your hands up, while they devised a plan to maintain cover and move south into the woods toward the subject's location. Over the course of the next 2 minutes, troopers 1, 2, and 3 exchanged multiple volleys of gunfire with the subject, who was fatally struck. There were several pauses in the gunfire as troopers ceased firing their weapons to assess whether the threat from the subject continued to warrant deadly force, giving verbal commands to drop the gun and show his hands. The subject continued to move with his rifle. The troopers finally reached the subject, secured the subject's rifle, evaluated his injuries, and provided medical assistance. Troopers applied pressure to the subject's gunshot wounds and applied a tourniquet. A few minutes later, the subject succumbed to his injuries. It was discovered that the subject was wearing a tactical bulletproof vest during the incident. While securing the scene, troopers located a deceased male with gunshot wounds in the area of the subject. Additionally, the County 911 Center received a call from complainant number 3 that her stepmother had been shot and was dead. It was later discovered that, in addition to shooting at passing motorists, the subject had shot and killed 3 individuals, including his wife, sister, and a male acquaintance. Numerous items of evidence were located and collected at the scene, including rifle and shotgun casings. Several rifle casings were recovered from the area of the subject. Multiple rifle and shotgun casings were recovered from the area of the troopers. These items were processed as part of the criminal investigation. The incident was also captured by mobile video recorders in the troopers' vehicles. A PSP major case team activation was initiated, and pursuant to protocol, Troopers 1, 2, and 3 were placed on administrative duty status. Troopers 1, 2, 3, and 4 were interviewed on November 9th, 2022 for the criminal investigation and on May 3rd, 2023 for the administrative investigation. On November 8th, 2022, an autopsy was performed on the subject and the resulting cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds and the manner of death was homicide. Toxicology results on the subject's blood at the time of the analysis showed the presence of methamphetamine, amphetamine, delta-9 THC, and carboxy-delta-9 THC. On November 10th, 2022, the County District Attorney provided a preliminary written determination, which in part stated, "I have determined the shooting was justifiable. At this juncture, I can unequivocally state that but for courageous efforts of your troopers, I have no doubt that additional bloodshed would have occurred during the morning of November 5th. On November 17th, 2022, Troopers 1, 2, and 3 were returned to full duty status. On April 4th, 2023, the District Attorney issued a final prosecutorial determination that the shooting was justified. Following receipt of the final prosecutorial determination, an IAD administrative investigation commenced. A comprehensive internal investigation was completed on May 22nd, 2023, and on July 10th, 2023, this investigation was closed by IAD. Our preliminary findings and conclusions. Pursuant to Section 4B of this Executive Order 2023-21, the Review Committee conducted a comprehensive review of 22-1659 in accordance with Article 8 of the Commission bylaws and adopts the following findings and conclusions. The Review Committee found case number 22-1659 to be prompt as outlined. Based upon the facts contained within the case summary provided by PSP, the Review Committee finds PSP collected all relevant facts reasonably obtainable and conducted all relevant interviews. The Review Committee also found that based upon the facts contained within the case summary and additional documents provided by PSP, demonstrated the adjudicator's decision was reasonable and based on a totality of the circumstances. The Review Committee found no concerns related to fairness and impartiality related to PSP's completed internal investigation, which was presented to be free of conflict of interest based upon the case summary and additional documentation submitted for review. Based upon our full review of the available information and related documents, the Review Committee will make no policy or training recommendation related to this case. With that, I will open the floor for any comments from commissioners. Hearing none, we will move to public comment if there is any. Hearing and seeing none, I would like to have a motion to accept the preliminary case review of the Critical Incident Committee.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Wilson. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sunshine. Thank you. Any further discussion before we move to a vote? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Any opposition or abstention? Please state your name for the record. Right, hearing none, this report was accepted unanimously. The next order of business is to announce the upcoming dates and location of our next quarterly meeting. The next clear quarterly meeting will be June 1st, that is a Monday, right here in Harrisburg at PCCD. With more details to be announced in the coming weeks, we do hope to see you at our next quarterly meeting. With that, the floor is now officially open for public comment. Seeing none, hearing none. On behalf of the Clear Commission, we would like to thank you for joining us this morning. With no other business to consider, I would like to have a motion to adjourn. Thank
So
you,
moved.
Commissioner Lerner. We have that motion. And we have a second by Vice Chair Sunshine. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.